Hello, my name is Jeffrey Lehman. We're here in Laguna Beach, where it's all about the sun, the surf, the sand, and the art. Come along as we discover travel's best kept secrets here on Weekend Explore.
In this episode, we explore the marine life of Laguna Beach, California, including visiting with world-renowned artist Wyland. Then we zipline in the old-growth forests of British Columbia, including some spring mountain biking. Finally, we head to Tybee Island, Georgia, to go on a bird-watching eco-tour and then meet some of the area's friendly locals. Laguna Beach, California is approximately halfway between San Diego and Los Angeles. My friend Allison and I first stopped to meet with Pete Clensos of North Laguna Float Company to go kayaking. Although I kayak regularly and even occasionally teach kayaking, Allison appreciated a quick course from Pete. These inflatable kayaks are easy to use and less intimidating for beginners. It wasn't long before we were off into the wild blue yonder. Allison and I just went on the first half of the tour before heading back on our own. Although the beach looks inviting, we head off to meet local Jan Sattler to go tide pooling at Shaw's Cove.
So in a typical tide pool in Laguna Beach, you can find lots of hermit crabs, sea anemones, which look somewhat like flowers when they're open with tentacles, and we have a shore crab hiding under the rock and some baby fish called opali.
And you can tell they're opali because of the white dots on their back.
Yeah, they have two little white dots by their dorsal fins.
And the reason the fish come in here, the small ones, is to protect themselves. And I'm only seeing opali here, but there are other fish that come in here as well, right?
We have typically two fish in our tide pools. Tide pool sculpin, which are covered in what looks like camouflage, desert camouflage. And they live their entire life in the tide pools, where the opali, when they get big enough, they go out into the open ocean to finish out their lifespan.
And these sea anemones, we're seeing some shells and rocks and stuff on them, and they're using that as protection, right?
Correct. Some people call it sunscreen, but it's also protection against predators and other
Fish
things.
coming in.
And then you see this little tiny creature here. This is a chitin, and it's made up of 8 bony plates. And if you find one of those plates, they look like a little miniature butterfly. And that's a very old creature, virtually unchanged for millions of years.
One of the very first creatures in the earth.
And then we also have a rock oyster here. We have mussel shells. In fact, we are standing on mussel shells, and they are live creatures attached to the rocks with byssal threads. And we just hope that all our visitors who come to Laguna Beach walk gently on the mussels. You cannot help but walk on creatures when you come to the tide pools. You walk on barnacles, who are above water during low tide and underwater to feed during high tide.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for showing us, Jan.
You're welcome. Thanks.
With all of the marine life in Laguna Beach, it comes as no surprise that world-renowned artist Wyland lives and works here. Wyland invited me to take a tour of his studio. I took some time to learn about his beginnings as an artist here in Laguna Beach. Wyland, here we are in your studio. I mean, this is fantastic. I mean, you're known around the world, and this is this your first studio?
Actually, no. I started a studio here in Laguna Beach in, let's see, 1978, about 28 years ago. So this is my 28th anniversary. And that was a little studio gallery. And I've always liked the idea of an artist live-work studio, but this one's you know, this is the dream studio, of course, here in Laguna Beach, California. I love Laguna. It's an art colony, and it's a perfect fit. I'm right on the water here.
And you can see whales from your balcony, right?
Absolutely. In fact, when I first came to Laguna for the very first time in 1971, that's when I saw the ocean for the first time.
Wow.
And it happened that the gray whales were migrating along the coast here, very close in, and 2 whales spouted right in front of me. As a young artist, you know, I mean, that changed my life. 10 years later, ironically, in 1981, I painted my first life-size whaling wall right here in Laguna on the side of this property, believe it or not.
Now we headed to nearby Pacific Marine Mammal Center to learn more about their important animal rescue work from Emily Wing.
Emily, tell me a little bit about, I know these are elephant seals and they're pups, but how did they get here and why are they here?
Well, usually a lot of the animals that we see are newly weaned pups, and so we get seal and sea lion pups who go out for the first time to forage on their own for fish and don't quite get the hang of it. So what happens is they lose a lot of weight, they become susceptible to other you know, sort of respiratory infections, they get colds like we do. So they strand on the beach and we will go out and rescue them.
Now,
So, yeah.
these are elephant seals, but I'm seeing that we have sea lions behind us here.
We do, and Lindsay will take us into this enclosure
Excellent.
and we can check it out.
Because even though they look very cuddly and cute, if you saw something like this on the beach, it could come out and bite you. So you probably
Exactly.
don't want to approach it. You probably just want to call a lifeguard or some other kind of official like that who could then talk to you. They are cute though.
They are cute. How's
And
the
these are the
best?
California sea lions,
These are
right?
California
the
sea
Xylophus
lions.
californius, if I remember correctly.
Exactly, you do know your stuff. When we release our animals, you'll see they're a little bit fatter than
The average
they're a little
bear.
bit fatter than the average bear, so they can miss a meal or two. And
While they're learning to
Exactly,
actually fend for
exactly.
themselves in the real wild.
Exactly.
We're here in Dana Point. It's about 10 minutes south of Laguna Beach, and this is the harbor where you can take whale watching trips out. The best time of the year for whale watching trips is December through March. That's when the gray whales migrate from Alaska to Baja, have their calves, and then go back to Alaska. But you can see dolphins here year-round, and then occasionally, if you're really lucky, you can see some other types of whales that also come by the California coast.
We headed out on a dolphin safari with Captain Dave Anderson. Dolphins are the most common marine mammal to be found off the California coast. Still, we felt lucky to spot them almost immediately after leaving the harbor. Just a few minutes after that, we came on a megapod of dolphins. This is somewhat rare, and it is where thousands of dolphins come together into a group. Truly an amazing sight. Captain Dave has a wealth of knowledge about the ocean that he shares throughout the trip. Everyone is happy with this fantastic experience, and as we head home, we even see a whale.
Charlie, can you see that whale over there?
Coming up, we go ziplining and mountain biking in British Columbia, then head to Tybee Island, Georgia. Whistler, British Columbia, sits in the southwest corner of Canada, near the United States border. British Columbia is known for its old-growth forests, and an exciting way to enjoy and learn about them is on a Zip Trek Eco Tour.
No jumping up and down on the bridge. Leslie,
What are you doing?
Stop doing it.
Hey, I'm not.
What are you doing?
Don't play around, Jeffrey. Oh my goodness, look at that view. It's absolutely
This is like treehouse stuff.
beautiful.
Ziplining has become one of the fastest growing new eco activities, and friend Leslie was excited but nervous about trying it.
Okay, here goes.
All right.
Oh my god. Oh! Woo! Oh my god. Whoa.
All right, here we go.
Zip Trek believes that forest education is an important part of responsible ecotourism. I asked our guide Jess to tell me more.
Jess, as fun as zip trekking is, teaching about the environment is equally as important. Isn't that right?
It is. It's very important that people learn a little bit about their environment while they're out here. And we like to teach people a little bit about the trees and the animals they'll find here. Sometimes we even get to catch a glimpse of a bear now and then. So,
I bet you've had kids across here and they probably love this.
oh yeah, kids, fearless. They just go for it, and it's a great experience for them. So.
This is a temperate rainforest, and British Columbia has two types, coastal and interior. Coastal temperate rainforests like this include cedar, true firs, Douglas fir, hemlock, and Sitka spruce trees. They are believed to have more biomass, that's biological material both living and dead, than any other terrestrial ecosystem in the world.
So no starfishing. If you feel like you're losing speed, just tuck up nice and small. All right? Starfishing. Woo! Oh my gosh.
Although Leslie was nervous at
I'm
first,
ready.
soon she became as relaxed as a guide. So much for no starfishing.
Woo!
Ecotourism like this is a strong incentive to protect these old-growth forests that are somewhat unbelievably still being cleared of ancient trees. Here it takes 150 to 300 years to reestablish an old-growth forest once it is harvested. Leslie had gone from nervous to daredevil in just a couple of hours. Unmolested, trees can live to be as much as 1,700 years old here. Old-growth forests allow a greater diversity of life to survive, and a Zip Trek ecotour is a great way to enjoy them. Whistler and Blackcomb Mountains offer excellent skiing and average 12 meters or 39 feet of snow a year. The area is best known for hosting the alpine events of the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics.
Ski slopes behind it.
Leslie and I were excited to explore Whistler Village. The village sits at 675 meters or 2,214 feet, so it might take a day or two coming from Vancouver at sea level to get adjusted to the altitude. The village has numerous restaurants and bars, a perfect place to take a break during a day on the slopes. Leslie and I headed to the gondola on the edge of the village for a ride to the top. The highest elevation accessed by a lift here is 2,284 meters or nearly 7,500 feet.
This is the spectacular Coast Mountain Range of British Columbia, Canada.
The Coast Mountains run almost the entire length of British Columbia, western Yukon, and the Alaska Panhandle. It has both volcanic and non-volcanic mountains and includes the northern end of the volcanoes of the Cascade Range. There are more than 200 ski trails here and 17 restaurants. This means you can basically spend your entire trip discovering new terrain and different types of food. Whistler is also very family-friendly and offers ski and snowboard classes for all ages.
This is an Inuit Inukshuk, the symbol for the 2010 Winter Olympics.
An Inukshuk is the name of the man-made landmarks used by the First Nation peoples of the Arctic Circle that is dominated by tundra and has few natural landmarks. Inukshuks are found from Alaska to Greenland, and one in the form of a man was picked as the symbol of the 2010 Olympics. The Inukshuk at the top of Whistler Mountain is a popular place to get your picture taken. In spring, Whistler Mountain offers skiing and boarding at the top and mountain biking at the bottom. I headed off with local Brian to give it a try. It is muddy this time of year, so you'll want to be sure to dress accordingly.
I'm following your tracks.
Using the lifts allows all the fun and excitement of normal mountain biking with comparatively little effort. If you wonder what a local who rides regularly can do, check these jumps out. I learned long ago to stay well within my ability, but I enjoyed watching this seasoned veteran cover terrain that would surely have sent me to the hospital.
Oh yeah.
As Brian took off on another run, it was time for me to call it a day. Coming up, we go on a birdwatching tour before meeting some of the friendly locals of Tybee Island. Tybee Island sits off the coast of Georgia, just a short half-hour's drive from Savannah. Tybee Island and its naturally pristine neighbor, Little Tybee Island, are known for their coastal salt marshes, natural beaches, sand dunes, and subtropical forests. These habitats attract a wide variety of wildlife, perfect for nature lovers to explore. We joined Captain Renee Height for a birdwatching tour to Little Tybee Island.
Big tide like this will come in and flood the marsh, and it'll pick up all the dead spartina grass and float it out into the creeks. And as it floats in the creeks, it decays and turns into what they call detritus, and plankton eats it. And then everything in the marsh, all the filter feeders, the clams, the mussels, everything eats the plankton. The menhaden, which are popular fish, they eat the plankton, and in turn the dolphin eat them. So it starts the whole food chain. The marsh is just incredibly rich.
Dolphins are eating what primarily?
They're eating menhaden. We might see some of them today. They boil on the surface. They're little silver fish. They're the biggest fish crop in Georgia. They make fertilizer out of them.
Oh, great.
They eat a lot of different things.
Yep.
But what's interesting about with the plankton, like the area we're going to next has a 70-foot deep hole. You know, most of the area is shallower in here, but there's a 70-foot deep hole. Because it's so deep, you have a lot of movement in the water. You have hot water rising and cold water sinking, and it stirs up the bottom, all the minerals. And so then there's tons of plankton eating the minerals. And because you have tons of menhaden, you almost always have dolphin.
That's cool.
As we got further along on our journey, the civilization of Tybee Island receded into the distance, and the wilds of Little Tybee Island began to surround us. While cruising along in these marshes, I couldn't help think of Blackbeard again. Pirates often used sea marshes like these to conceal themselves and their skiffs. Sometimes this was to take a ship by surprise, and other times to avoid being captured and hanged. The water here is shallow, and the sandbars are constantly shifting, preventing any warship from pursuing pirates into the marshes. The more pristine the habitat, the more wildlife we began to see. This is especially true of birds. These salt marshes are home to many species of wading birds, including 9 local species of egrets and herons, white ibis, the endangered wood stork, and rarest of them all, the oyster catcher. There are only about 90 breeding pairs of oyster catchers in the entire state of Georgia, so we felt very lucky to get to see these birds. Birds migrate south from the Arctic to escape the cold, and some winter on Tybee Island's warm beaches. Sounds like some people from New England I know. In all, over 200 species of birds can be found here. Many of these are rare and endangered. Fall and spring is the peak of the migration and the best time for bird watching. We kept catching fleeting glimpses of dolphins. Renee told us that normally there are more of them, but they had retreated into the marsh creeks to protect themselves from yesterday's tropical storm. Tybee Island is known for its dolphins, and I wanted to see more of them. There are a number of operators offering tours, including our choice, Captain Mike's Dolphin Tours. Shortly after our departure, we came upon the Cockspur Beacon. This lighthouse, now retired, was constructed in 1848 and saved many lives. Unfortunately, in the 19th century, more than one keeper lost their lives keeping it lit during storms. Brown pelicans are once again prolific here, but they were seriously threatened in the 1970s. The pesticide DDT cause the shell of their eggs to thin and subsequently break. The outlaw of this pesticide in that era has allowed these birds to slowly fight their way back from the brink of extinction. The pelicans are great, but we are all here to see Tybee Island's famous bottlenose dolphins. Soon enough, we spotted one. Dolphins are cetaceans, the family that includes whales. Dolphins are carnivores eating a diet of fish, crustaceans, and squid. As we already learned, dolphins are attracted to Tybee Island due to the abundance of fish, mainly menhaden. The dolphin sonar allows them to navigate in murky waters, and a blast of the sonar is also used to stun small fish. These fish are then swallowed whole. Although dolphins have teeth, they are used mainly to capture and hold prey versus chew their food like humans do. These dolphins grow to be 10 to 13 feet or 3 to 4 meters in length. Dolphins are a little over 1 yard or 1 meter in length at birth and can swim immediately. Gestation is approximately 1 year, but females only give birth every other year, even though they mate year-round. Dolphins can swim at speeds of 25 miles per hour or 40 kilometers per hour. They are extremely intelligent and can also be aggressive. Just be thankful they eat small fish and not humans.
Thanks for joining us here on Tybee Island in Georgia, and we hope you'll join us next time as we discover travel's best kept secrets here on Weekend Explore.